Alright, we on?
What's my hair look like? Your shoes look so small.
35.
Like,
same as you.
I know, but it's funny when you see
Yeah,
the other
you,
side.
you want to look tiny too. Alright, let's do it.
I feel like we're fast. Hey guys, this is Bryony.
And this is Laurie.
And today we're going to get back to one of your questions, which was...
How do you stay on track while being on holidays?
Which is a fabulous question. And recently Laurie's just been away, so do you want to kind of start us off?
Well, I guess, first of all, it depends how important is it for you to stay on track while on holidays. Because with my clients, I always ask, do you want to have a break while you're on holidays? Or do you want to keep pursuing things as in like online coaching? So that's the main thing. Is it important to you, or are you actually working towards these holidays? As in, my goal is to be fit for these holidays and just YOLO, have fun. So,
but also it depends like how long your holiday is. If you're going for like a week, I generally would be like, having a week off is not going to be detrimental to your results. Again, depends what you're doing, but like you're not going to lose muscle in like a week. Like statistically, what is it? It's like 3 or 4 weeks, I think, where you actually then start to lose muscle mass. So it's like, it's not going to ruin your gains, and I actually think it's good for you to actually have a whole week off. Like if you're someone like us, where we rarely stop training unless it's like a structured deload where you're physically not training for a week, then the only time we don't train is when we're sick. And so it's probably good to actually have a rest. But if you're going for like a month and you're traveling overseas for like 4 or 6 weeks, then I'm like, okay, have a week off, then get back to training.
So that's actually what I've done. So I went home for 5 weeks, which is a pretty long time. And lucky me, I wasn't dieting anymore at this time. So I just had a bit more room to play around with, because obviously with us, we do long-term programming. So we kind of know where we are in the year in terms of like, are we building? Are we cutting? So it's good to go on holidays while you're in the building phase. But for me, before I left, I had set non-negotiables, which is my training and my nutrition. Then obviously with the steps, it was a bit more complicated because sometimes you're just with family, and also being in Europe, it's fucking freezing outside. So I was just doing my best, but steps were not achieved every single day, that's for sure. Cardio was a non-negotiable as well.
So basically set your non-negotiables and set realistic targets of what you're going to do and set a schedule. Essentially, you should just have the same kind of structure as you would back home, or what your normal routine is, but maybe you're not just as rigid, but you still look ahead and plan in advance.
Exactly. And as Bryony said, sometimes you can't be as rigid as you would like to. For example, in Australia, I train 5 times a week. In France, sometimes I was going skiing for like 3 or 4 days, or going to Paris or whatever, and I wouldn't want to just pay for one-off session somewhere. So some weeks I was training 3 times a week. After, I would try and compensate by training 6 times. So it's just playing around with your schedule a bit more.
And then you might have different levels of tracking, again, depending on what you're doing. So you may be eating out a little bit more, and instead of hitting your macros to a T, depending on what your coach has given you, you might just aim to hit your calories, for example, and just try and get as close to like the best you can do, or good enough is good enough. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Exactly. It's just try and manage the things that you actually have the power to control. Exactly. So what I was doing with my nutrition, and that's also what I would recommend to my girls if they do want to stay on track, is to budget their calories. So for example, I was living at my parents', so pretty easy to stay on track. Like calorie wise, I was still cooking my own food, eating my own food, but then obviously I knew that I would eat out way more often than I would usually do in Australia. So I was just trying to save calories, so then I have a bit more calories to spend whenever I go out.
A bit more flexibility.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do here in Australia. I just literally did the same thing here and just brought it back home. So sometimes it is a bit more challenging, especially when your family is not used to it, because they ask a lot of questions.
I can imagine.
And be like, why you don't eat this? But I mean, if this goal is very important to you, they would understand and support you no matter what.
Yeah, agreed.
And I think also the good thing about being on holidays is that you're not working. I mean, that's what a holiday is. So you would have more time to go for walks, especially if you're in a city.
Yeah,
you know,
you're a little bit more active anyway.
So it's all about trying to compensate, be active. Like for example, I was in Paris and I did almost 40,000 steps.
Not just ate a fly, I think.
I thought you were like, she's shocked because that is a lot.
I was like, swear fly just went
in.
Is that
the green thing?
No, it's not the green. I was like,
Depending what holidays, obviously if you're at the beach, it might be a bit more challenging, but if you're in a big city, it's actually easy to get a lot of steps in.
Yeah.
Do you want to add something?
No.
But yeah, that's it.
Easy.